Well, hi, folks. Today we're joined by Mark Furze from this year's The Voice Australia, doing great things there. And he was on home way back in the day as Rick Dalby. So looking forward to hearing all about that, plus much more on Legends with Bevo.
Welcome to Legends with Bevo. Thanks to the Holdy, Coopers, Anytime Fitness Glenelg, and Paradise Mazda. And now, here's your host, Bevo.
Well, g'day, welcome to Legends with Bevo. We're joined by Mark Furze. He's doing great things at the moment on The Voice Australia. Of course, you've seen him on Home and Away as well, doing really good things back in the day on Summer Bay. He's also got some very close friends that a lot of people know around the world. We'll find out about that after. But Furze, great to have you on for a chat, mate.
Mate, thanks for having me. You're the legend here, Bevo. If anyone is, mate, it's all you.
Don't know about that, mate. Thank you. I'm not the one tearing up the voice at the moment. What about your experience and your performance the other night? How good was that?
Mate, I'm stoked. I'm really pleased with how it came together, and I've never been more nervous in my life. But it came out great. The band was huge. It sounded awesome. It looked really cool on the TV. I was quietly pretty stoked with how it all looked, and I've been getting some really good feedback from people. It's been great. People have really enjoyed the performance, so I'm stoked, man. I'm glad that people had a good time.
Mate, it couldn't have been any better. 4 chair turns. That must have been a huge buzz for you.
Oh, I lost your audio, brother. I can't hear you.
Sorry, mate. I was just saying you had the 4 chair turns. That must have been unreal.
Yeah, it was great. It was I was genuinely not even sure. I was so paranoid that I wasn't going to get any chair turns, and was just like thinking, this has been a mistake. I should never have done this, just over and over. And then I just managed to go, no, just get up and do what you do. I've done a bunch of gigs. I've played a lot of music. It's something that I probably do more than anything else, is playing gigs and singing. And I'm glad I trusted myself because, the coaches enjoyed it too, which it's a real relief. It was the main feeling. We're all good.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Once that one chair turns, you're like, you've got that relief, and then when there's 4, it's like, man, this is amazing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, one was great. Anything beyond 1 was a bonus. So it was I could just relax into it from there. Yeah.
Oh, so good. And now talk us through the audition process, mate. It must have been pretty full on.
Sorry, well, it's
the audition process. How was that?
It was cool, man. It was. Yeah. So it's a long day. I was there I did the same as everyone else. Like, I turned up and did the initial auditions, and then they decide whether you're going to be making it to the blinds, and you got to meet the producers and all that kind of business. So I did all that, and then on the day of the blind audition, I'm just kind of waiting out the back with all the other people having a crack, and it's all just a bunch of nervous energy kind of mulling around. And I think they had planned to have me on first for that day, and then they changed it to have me on last for that day. So I was there for like 9 or 10 hours, just kind of walking in circles, driving myself crazy, playing out different possible scenarios and trying not to go mentally insane because of the stress. So that was really good for my mental well-being. But we got there in the end. But yeah, I was there all day watching people go in and come out, and some people were happy, some people were sad. Like, I didn't know who had gotten in or what. I didn't get to see anyone's performances. So yeah, that was a pretty stressful day, to be honest.
I can just imagine waiting all that time.
Yeah, it was rough.
Who do you actually perform in front of, mate? Because obviously we don't really find that out until we see, when you go in front of the 4 judges. But as you're going through the audition process, are you performing in front of a couple there as well, like, Guy or people like that, or does it have to get through the main part to perform?
Yeah, so initially it's just producers. It's just you submit a video audition of you doing your thing. And then if they like that, they invite you to come and meet the production team, and you go in, and it's obviously there's no glitz and glamour with that kind of thing. It's just to show some face and see you in person, and then you have a chat with like the story team if they like you and all that kind of business, so they can make sure that they are representing you in a way that you feel is true and honest, and then you perform for the producers and the music team, and then from there you wait and see if you get an email. So yeah, but I haven't really done any of the other shows, but one of the reasons I was a little apprehensive about doing the whole thing in the first place was just because some of these shows are kind of mean to people. You know, they make fun of them, and it's just kind of nasty. But The Voice doesn't do that. I mean, it might do it in other countries, but it certainly doesn't do it in Australia. It's all pretty positive.
That's wonderful, mate.
And genuine. Yeah.
You know, it's so funny you say that because, you know, I'm a bit of a fan. I love the show, and I think it's really cool how even people that don't necessarily get the 4 chair turns, or one chair turn, I should say, you know, even after that, the judges still are so kind and so nice and give them really good feedback. And then sometimes they even get up and sing with them. I reckon that's so cool. And, you know, for young 15, 16-year-olds singing with their idols, I just think that's amazing.
I agree, dude. I think the thing that people don't realise is it's all good and well to, you know, be sitting in your lounge chair and you know, feeling the way you feel about certain people and certain performances, and that's the point. You know, it's a TV show, but if you were to put yourself in a position of actually going out and doing it, and actually walking out on that stage with all of these bright lights, and there's people sitting there in silence, and there's these, you know, backs of these chairs, it's an exceptionally vulnerable place that you're in, you know, and your body and your voice does things that you can never practice for because you get nervous. So, you know, some people, like I didn't perform as well as I could have if I wasn't quite that nervous, but there's a different energy that comes to it. And I've done it enough times to be able to kind of harness that and use it to my benefit. But some people, it overwhelms them, and they maybe don't do the best they can. So I think it's really beautiful aspect of the show that the coaches are still kind to them, and even get up and have a sing with them if they don't get a chair turn. Because, as I said, it's exceptionally vulnerable to put yourself in that position.
Totally.
And it's tough. So it's nice to, you know, like, give someone respect for actually getting out there and having a crack, because it's terrifying, man.
No, well said. I think it's lovely. You're right. And one of my highlights of this season so far, I've forgotten the guy's name, but I think it might be Jacob, perhaps, the guy in a wheelchair. You know, he didn't get a turn, but they went up on the stage, all 4 of them, and sang a song with him. Oh, it was a Jackson 5 song. And I thought that was just one of the coolest things I've ever seen on The Voice. I don't know if you saw that at all.
Yeah, I did, actually. I actually met him backstage too, and he was a really sweet kid. And I loved that moment too. That was real nice. You know, he's obviously physically more limited than most other people, but again, putting himself out there in the public eye and being vulnerable enough to get up and sing, and it was awesome. It was real nice. It was a real special moment. Yeah. His parents were stoked too, and he was having a ball up there. And then for the coaches to get up and have a dance, it was a good feel-good TV moment, man.
It was awesome. I must admit, I think I shed a tear from just happiness for the guy. It was so cool.
I was pretty close too, bro. Yeah.
So, mate, let's talk about your experience. We'll get to Home and Away in a moment. But since 2008, you know, what have you been up to? When did you sort of get this real passion for music?
So it's actually something that I've always done. When I was a kid, I did musical theatre. So that's obviously singing and acting. So that's where, when I was 10, I did Oliver, and I played Oliver. So there was quite a bit of singing in that. And that's when I realised that I could sing and enjoyed acting and singing. And ever since then, I've been doing music. I've always played in bands. I've played in a bunch of bands. I've just in the last. Well, so after Home and Away, I had a couple of bands, and then I moved to the States, and I actually moved from the States to New Zealand to join a band called Shotgun Alley. They were friends of mine, and their singer, it didn't work out with their singer at the time, and they asked me if I would join, and I loved the band so much that I moved from the States to New Zealand to join there. And that's when I really started taking my singing really seriously, because the guy who I was replacing had a much higher voice than me. So I had to really work on my range to be able to comfortably sing the songs. And the only way to do that was to just bite the bullet and do some homework and do those annoying, all the weird noises and, learning about my mixed voice and all the technical, boring crap that comes with learning any skill like that. Like before, I'd kind of just been going on my natural ability. And so that was when I really started to take things seriously. And from there, we did 3 albums. And they're all online. Actually, I only just put them up online recently. And that's like 80s cock rock kind of stuff. It's a bit Motley Crue. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. And then I've just done some of my own stuff too. Solo stuff just recently, which I'm really proud of that stuff too. So yeah, I've been doing a bunch of music, but it's just when you're acting, there's a lot of downtime. Like there's a lot of downtime even when you have an acting job, let alone when you don't, which unfortunately is the majority of the time for most actors. You are waiting for the phone to ring, waiting for auditions. And in my downtime, I usually make music. I record, or I work on my voice, or I work on my production skills, or I'm writing songs. And so it's been something that I've actually done a whole lot more of than acting. It just so happens that, Summer Bay is a pretty notorious place. So you get invited to join that family, and it's like an instant recognition.
Yeah, wonderful. And how many years did you end up spending in the US, and how did you find that experience, mate?
I was there for about 10, 11 years. I was back and forth, for about the first 4 years, and then more permanently for the rest. And then my wife, I met her in New Zealand when I joined Shotgun Alley, and then we all moved to the States. And then the band didn't end up working out. The boys from the band moved back, and my wife and I stayed in the States, in Los Angeles. It was a really good time for a while. And then Los Angeles is an interesting place. It's very exciting. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of creative people there. People kind of go to follow their dreams to LA because there's a lot going on. But it's also what they don't really show you on TV and movies is that it's kind of filthy. LA is a little scary. Like there's unfortunately there's a pretty bad homeless population. And it's a lot of smoke and mirrors after you've been there for a while. Don't get me wrong, I got some pretty cool opportunities. I got to be in a few cool movies and saw some really great bands over there. Some of the biggest bands in the world. But the day-to-day life for me and my wife, it just wasn't really suiting us anymore. We were kind of missing Australia and the attitude of Australians and the way it's like on this side of the world and how we treat each other. It's a little cold over there, if I'm being completely honest, emotionally, not physically. The weather's beautiful. But emotionally, it can be a little cold, can be a little cutthroat. And some people that suits them fine. I guess I'm just a little bit too sensitive and was having a hard time with the lack of love over there. So, I had to make a decision as to whether I keep trying to make it, whatever that means, or come back to Australia and just embrace the culture of the way we treat each other. And to be honest, I'm really happy that I've come home.
Well, the way you performed the other night, mate, I think there's a long music career ahead of you, so keep that up.
Thanks, man. Well, look, if there's any gigs, we're allowed to do gigs again in the future, then that'd be great.
Yes, for sure. Come to Adelaide, mate. You're always welcome here.
Right. I'll be there.
Hey, talk to us through your experience on Summer Bay. You played for 4 years the character of Rick Dalby. And, what was it like being on Summer Bay with the likes of Ray Maher and the great Lynn McGranger, I chatted to not long ago? Cool. Pretty amazing.
Dude, it was awesome. It was awesom. For me, that came about. I grew up in a country town called Orange, about 4 hours west of Sydney, and was a country boy. Lived there, and then got the part on Home and Away, and moved straight from the country the day after I finished my Year 12 exams to Sydney to start working on Home and Away full time. So it was a huge culture shock for me. It was wild. You know, I was getting paid all this money, and I was acting, and then people started to recognize me. It was crazy, dude. It was crazy. Like I was just along for the ride, just trying to hang on for dear life, you know. But it was a lot of fun. It was a really wonderful experience. And as far as an acting job is concerned, if you can do well on Home and Away, you can do well on anything, because the fact of the matter is it's they've got to churn out like 5 episodes a week. And so you got to shoot fast. You have to learn to make the scripts, work. There's only so much time they have to write this stuff. There's only so much time they have to shoot it. So it's like the equivalent of shooting 24 minutes a day, which is how long an episode is. Whereas if you do a film, you'll shoot about 2 minutes of screen time a day, and you keep going until you get it right. Whereas on something like Home and Away, you don't have that luxury. So it's actually a brilliant training ground. Some fancy actors kind of turn their nose up at it like they're too good for it. But it's the other way around. If you can make it work, you're doing really well, because you can make anything else work. It's like learning to drive on a tractor.
It's so funny you say that, because I've actually been involved in TV commercials and, extras in films and stuff before, mate. And you're right. It's amazing. Like, you can spend 8 hours there just for a 30-second commercial. It's phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Whereas in that 8 hours on Home and Away, man, they'll have pumped out 4 or 5 scenes,
Amazing.
So it's, if you learn to get good at that stuff, and then everything else becomes much easier. And plus the relationships and friends I made from doing that show and being paid to go up to Palm Beach multiple times a week. It was incredible. And it's funny looking back on it. I guess I kind of took it for granted a little bit, of just what a beautiful working environment that was, and that experience is something that's I'll hold dear to my heart for the rest of my life, man. It was great.
And you've got obviously a very close friendship now out of it through Chris Hemsworth, who we all know well as Thor and many other movies, doing great things around the world. You must be very proud to see how far he's come as well.
It's been huge, and he's a perfect example of living the dream, that thing that people always want to hit the big time, and I remember talking to him once actually about going to the States, and he hadn't saved that much money, and he was just going, and someone had said to him, "Oh man, what are you going to do if it doesn't work out?" And he goes, "Don't plan to fail, mate. It's all good." So he had his mind set on what was going to happen, and he's just crushing it. He can't. And the funny thing is, he's still the same. He can't sit still. Like he was bound to get to where he was getting, because he's like, he just can't. He can't not be doing something. So he's always got a new project on the go, and he works his ass off. And he's very well deserving of the position that he's in.
And I mentioned you're pretty close friends with him. What's it like, mate, when you go out, say, in the States or in Australia for a coffee with him, and he's just getting swamped by all these people? You must be like, wow, this is crazy.
Like, the only time I hang out with him is in basically the privacy of his own home. It's like he belongs to the world, and I don't see him anywhere near as often as I'd like to, because he's in Jakarta shooting a movie, or he's flying on Europe for a press tour, and he's all over the place. Same with Liam. It's a pretty wild life and existence they live. So when they get some downtime, that's really the only times I get to go and see him. And there's no strangers around, because people just go mental. They just lose their mind.
I can imagine.
Selfies.
I'm going to be very good with it. Well, let's be honest. I think all the guys do.
He's a very handsome dude.
He's already. Yeah. Mate, speaking of famous people,
I've lost you again. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Speaking of famous people, mate, can you hear me okay now? Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Now I grew up I'm still in Adelaide now, and I grew up in the suburb of Salisbury East, in the northern suburbs of South Australia. And Guy Sebastian used to live just around the corner from me. We used to go up to the primary school and play cricket, and I played a bit of footy with him back in the day as well. And he's actually a good mate of yours. How did that come about, mate?
Yeah, okay. So In the early day, I think I was on Home and Away for 4 years. I think it was a year or two in, I got asked to do this show called It Takes Two, which was a singing show where they would pair a celebrity with a professional singer. And I was the celebrity for that round, which I was very flattered about. And so I was paired with a musical theatre actor, singer named Rachel Beck. And it was all duets. And we would do, a bunch of different songs. And Guy was also on that show as the singer, and he was singing with a Olympic swimmer. So we just met on that show, and that was like live every week, I believe. And I think he ended up coming second, I came third, and someone else won. But it's one of those situations where, it being live and it being a performance, once again, as I was saying before, it's a very vulnerable place to have the guts to get up and do that kind of thing. No matter how good you are at it and how many times you've done it, you still feel very exposed and very vulnerable. So when everyone's in that same position, it's almost impossible not to make really close friends, because you're already, all the bullshit's just gone. You've just dropped all that stuff because it's a vulnerable place. So it's very easy to make good connections. And we've been great mates ever since then.
Yeah, wonderful, mate. I haven't seen him for a long time, but no doubt he's a great fella still.
He still loves his cricket. And
yeah.
He's pretty golf obsessed too. So, yeah, he's a good dude, man.
And he was a good footballer, mate. I can tell you right now.
Yeah.
Very hard at it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, before I let you go first, 3 famous dinner guests. Who would they be, mate?
Do they have to be alive?
It doesn't matter.
I'd love to have dinner with, I think it'd be good to have Jim Carrey. He'd be fascinating, I reckon. There's this other bloke named Terence McKenna, who's no longer alive. He was an activist, well, not activist, but he kind of led the psychedelic charge in the 90s and in the 80s, and he was all about magic mushrooms, and he's got all these talks on YouTube, and he's a fascinating dude. Some of the stuff that he comes out with is so ridiculous, but also almost kind of perfect. He's very, very weird guy. I think it would be fascinating to have him over for dinner too. And who else would be cool to have? I think it would be cool to hang out with maybe someone real cool like Lenny Kravitz or like Dave Grohl or someone.
Oh, yes. Now you're talking.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, just to balance out the weirdos that I've got at the other end of the table. And hopefully I'm a good mix of all of the, just sitting there nodding and smiling.
I think Dave Grohl and you would actually get on pretty well, mate. You've got that similar kind of laid back, love your rock. Just get the personalities and
yeah. He seems like a good dude. He's certainly done a few cool gigs in his time, old Dave. So.
Mate, I've seen the Furzey about 3 times. Have you seen him live before?
I've never seen him do. I was watching a whole concert on YouTube the other day. I was just like, man, why have I never been yet? But yeah, they're incredible, right?
Yeah, mate. If you get a chance, 100% check them out.
Yeah.
Well, Thursday, all the very best with The Voice coming up. We've got the battles coming up this Sunday night. And, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure having a chat to you. Thanks for giving us your time. I know you're a very busy man, so much appreciative. Mate,
thank you, Bevo. I appreciate it, mate.
Speak again soon.
Yeah, it's been good, mate. Hopefully, we will have a chat again soon. Nice to do it with you, bro.
You too, mate. All the best. Take care.
See you, man.
See you, mate. Cheers.